All right, man. Yeah, so I just watched uh Natureboy, Eliana, and Fa on Saneter. This is a big thing I disagree with. A lot of this stuff I agree with. Like as far as getting back to nature, as far as nature being the original source, all that sound information. As far as just going out and living and observing the animals' ways, observing that's how society evolved. You go out, you watch how the ant civilization may build their nest. Then you might go back and do the same thing. You got different ideas. You watch how the bees move. You watch how all these different animals and stuff move in nature, and that's how you get a society we have today. But where I disagree at is diet. Telling people, because I remember you started off as fruitarians, and then you evolved and adding other stuff, nuts and different plants and vegetables and stuff like that. But where you went off was, and I feel like it just, you guys didn't just have enough money to constantly be getting the different fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, even though it's cheaper over there and it was more. I think you're saying that it was a B12 thing, but it's, I would believe that you were just on this whole, like you saying, well, you couldn't just go out and, because the first excuse was B12, but you're buying everything from the store anyway. So when you use this new excuse of, well, you couldn't just go onto the land if everything shut down and go get all of this fruit and stuff like that. You would just have to eat whatever's there. That's a fact. But your first thing was the B12. So since you're already shopping in stores, it's not like you were growing the plants or the fruit and just pick and just living like that. You were going to get it from the market. So the same way you can go get that from the market, you could have went and got you a B12, uh not the cyano but the other one. You could have went and got you a B12 supplements for everybody. The same way you were going to buy the fruit from the store, you could have went and got you some nutritional yeast with B12, or you could have got you some water lentils. So there are plant sources of B12. That was the first argument against it, that you couldn't get any B12 from other sources, which isn't true. You can go get B12 and your omegas from an algae. I mean, there are multiple plant sources you can go get this stuff from. So that's where I knocked that point down. And then your point to, if the system shut down, you would just be eating whatever is around you. There's a lot of stuff people would be doing if the system shut down. It's Corona mania right now, and if the system shut down and there was no food and water and stuff that you just couldn't go to the store, guess what? It's a lot of stuff that people's going to do if everything shut down that they're not doing right now. People would be running in other people's houses and taking what other people got if the system shut down that wouldn't normally behave in that way. You might see people trying to kill and eat other people if it really got to that point where they couldn't find no food if the system shut down. So what you would do, and what me as somebody who's on a plant-based mode would do in the case of a system shutting down, should not be the argument in the case of what we live right now. Because right now you can go get all of these things and just keep you different herbs and vitamins, and most of this stuff is just grounded up fruit put into a pill, into a vegan pill. So that's not something that would be hard to do, especially if you are in certain areas. You might be in a Florida, you might be in a hotter region of America, or you in the tropics. So to have a platform that you have and to be pushing chicken and fish and with all the mercury, and the chicken with all the preservatives. And I understand you're saying wild caught, but the reality is, when you say this, just like you say, bust it down simple so the average Joe can get it. When you say that, they're not hearing none of what you're talking about, because then you start talking about something that costs way more when they can just go get a whole bag of fish for $2 that they can throw in the microwave, when they can just go get a whole bag of chicken nuggets that they can go get. And we know that this is the chicken and the fish with the hormones, the xenoestrogens, the mercury, and all that. Now, we understand that you're saying you're talking about wild cut. Why kill another life if you don't have to? There are other options. You can keep the weight on. See, y'all were just eating one time a day. You didn't even try. All right, let's let the pregnant women, because you said the pregnant women were going deficient. Well, let them eat more than one time a day. They wouldn't get so skinny. Add peanut butter with whole grain bread, you're going to gain weight. You're going to maintain weight. It's like for every teaspoon or tablespoon of peanut butter, it's 100 calories. So you do that 20 teaspoon, a man only need 25. If you go over 2,500 calories in a diet, you doing that with bread on top of your B6 meal, you're going to gain weight. If the woman is going over 1,500 calories, which is not hard to do with peanut butter and bread, she's going to gain and maintain weight. And anything that you are deficient of in the herbs department, you can go get your, like I said, go get your methylcobalamin B12 supplement. Go get you some nutritional yeast with B12 and a bunch of other proteins and vitamins, and or go get you some water lentils. This high in B12. So you go get you moringa without all it is all of these natural sources, especially being out in the central and southern Americas. You know, it's all out there on the trees and stuff like that. But here you don't need to put in the mind and put people and make the excuse. Just say, even times that I failed, I didn't make excuses to why I was going back and doing something wrong with the diet. It just, man, that's just how I'm feeling right now. Just say that's what y'all want. Y'all want some chicken and fish, but don't make it like, oh, Sabi was wrong. Because when you go and do the blood work and look at all of these studies, if you're doing a plant-based diet properly, because you could be plant-based and doing it improperly. You could be plant-based and still doing white sugars. You can be plant-based and still be taking in a lot of food that works against the body. So then you can be like, all right, well, I was plant based and I still got this and that because you weren't doing it correctly. You weren't supplementing correctly. You weren't really sticking to whole grain foods. You weren't. You were still, doing all of the sweets. You were still doing different things that can still work against the big picture of optimizing the body. So it's a wrong way to do plant-based as well. So we can't use that excuse. You might have needed to get more educated because there are plenty of professional athletes on this diet and they're not going nutrient deficient. Nick and Nate Diaz, um, Kyrie Irving, Tom Brady thriving in his 40s on a plant-based diet. Um, I mean, it's just so common now, like in the NBA, NFL, especially since Tom Brady came out in the wave that Dr. Sebi started. A lot of people caught it later with what the hell for they caught it later after Nip died. But there are plenty of examples. Mike Rashad, I think he's a bodybuilder, huge, not going nutrient deficient. So using a nutrient deficient thing, you just might need to say you weren't all the way educated on how to do it properly and staying nutrient optimal. That might be what you need to say, but to say that you weren't getting all of the vitamins and stuff that you needed, that's not the diet. That's on lack of information. Saying that if the system shut down, it's not a good excuse because if the system shut down, you're going to have a lot of people behaving in ways that they wouldn't behave in normally. And when it's get to that point, everybody's going to do whatever it takes to survive. And sometimes some people will get very much out of character in those cases. So, in extreme cases, do what you have to do to live. But while we're in blessed and fortunate to be, like you said, a very rich country, take advantage of that you can walk in almost any store nowadays and there's huge vegan aisles, there's huge, if you want to go totally organic aisles. But I say even if you're not going organic fruit, that's still unorganic fruit is still better for the body than a piece of chicken, than a piece of fish. It's easier for the body to break down. And you can just go look at studies of the blood work of a vegan diet done properly compared to a vegetarian diet. The plant based vegan diet trumps it. The plant based vegan diet trumps somebody just eating chicken and fish. The plant, like, it's not even close. I recommend everybody go watch a everybody's pretty familiar with what the health, but I recommend everybody go watch a documentary with some of the top doctors in the world that are familiar with nutrition because many of them don't get taught that, but these doctors have focused on that. It's called Eating You Alive, and you can find that on YouTube right now. So go check that out and really get an understanding of how to do it properly, because there's a right and a wrong way to do it. It's another channel called Plant Based News. Um, there are plenty of plant-based Dr. Greger, Dr. McDougall. There are plenty of plant-based doctors out here that can help you do it properly, that are well researched in the field. And anytime that someone falls flaw in the diet, they need to also just be honest, like, man, maybe I just didn't know the full way to do it, but not necessarily blame the diet, and not use these types of uh, doomsday excuses. What would you do? Or the nutrient excuses, because we see people who aren't in those positions and thriving with a plant-based diet. So I'm definitely on the edge of leaning more towards Dr. Sebi. I'm not totally extreme with it, with everything having to be alkaline and non-hybrid, because everything, a lot of the stuff that we have nowadays has just been altered so much. And unless you're in those tropical environments, it's hard to find the root. And a lot of even taking the seeds and planting to a certain extent is restricted in today's time. So really just do your own research. This is no disrespect, because like I said, I respect a lot of what they have going on. I respect a youthful new, in a way, a new mix to the nature perspective. A lot, we know, understand, a lot of the elders who have come before have taught a lot of the same things, most of the same things, but taking it all and putting it in one box, and really getting back and living that life. That's something to be respected. But one of the big things I disagree on strongly is somebody with that type of platform pushing uh, chicken and fish. Do your own research and go look up Eating You Alive. That's EATINGALIVE. It's on YouTube. Great documentary about plant based diet.